Hi friends, welcome to my channel and the penultimate video in my Decan walk. Yeah, I can't believe it. I've got this and the Six of Cups to go, and that's my Decan walk done with the minors. So yeah, I need to decide what to do with this series, whether to carry on with the court cards and the aces, and yeah, we'll see. However, today I'm talking about the Five of Cups, which is a really sad card. So before I start, I thought I'd just show you my new tarot cloth wrap that I got from Old Ways Cottage on Etsy. Isn't it beautiful? So I thought, because you know the time of year and everything, I might actually use this instead of my normal knitted backdrop. So let's see if the cards actually show up a little bit better on this backdrop, although it is picking up the bits of fibre from my knitted backdrop. But yeah, not to worry. So today I'm talking about, like I said, the Five of Cups, a very, very melancholy, sad card. And its associated majors, Death and the Tower. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Anyway, if you haven't seen any of my Decan videos before, I've got a whole playlist of them, obviously, because I've been doing it since last November. But just a quick recap. This is a system that I found by researching the Golden Dawn. And it's a Decanic wheel, and what that means is it's associated with astrology. So a decan is 10 degrees of the Decanic wheel, which is 360 degrees. Right, I'm no mathematician, but yeah, this is sort of the premise of it. And so each 10 degrees is assigned to a particular minor card. So the Decan at the moment runs between October 23rd, November 1st, November 2nd, and this is the card assigned to it. And these are their related majors. So what I've been investigating, for want of a better word, is the way that the major cards associate with the minor, how they inform, if you like, the minor card, to gain a deeper understanding of that minor card, and it has been phenomenal, really illuminating. So let's look at this one. So as I said, it runs from October 23rd to the beginning of November, and it's called the Lord of Loss and Pleasure. On the Thoth card we can actually see it says disappointment. These are also aligned with what's called the Tree of Life. And the Tree of Life is a Kabbalah system that places all the cards, every card in the deck, onto what's called the Tree of Life. And let's show you a glyph of the Tree of Life. Okay, so here's a card with the Tree of Life on. I'm looking at David Wells' Tree of Life Oracle here. Such a really good learning tool, this one. So yeah, this is the Pillar of Severity here, that's what it's called, and we've got someone here with a long sword in their hand, so yeah, that's pretty severe. The card is assigned to Gevera. This is Gevera on the Tree of Life, and that is assigned to Mars, so we can see that glyph there that says Mars. And all the fives in the minor arcana are here on the Tree of Life with Mars, every one of them, which probably explains why they're so problematic. You know, all the fives are, aren't they? But the other thing about tarot and its associations are the way it's associated to elements. So we know, well, I presume we know that cups are associated with water. So here we have the element of water from David Wells' deck, which says intuition, emotions and love. Beautiful. However, going back into the esoterica, the Tower is associated with Mars, which is associated with fire. Death is associated with Scorpio, which is associated with Mars. So we have 2 Mars there. And then we have Mars on the Tree of Life. So we've got 3 instances where Mars is associated here. So if we get the 3 cards from the deck and we get the water card, what can we see just by looking at this elementally? Well, too much fire. There's too much red energy there, isn't there? And poor water is being dried up by all this fire. And that is echoed in the minor cards. So here we've got the element of fire, and we can see someone almost rising like a phoenix from the flames. It's beautiful. So a lot of red energy there. We have Gevura, as I said, which is the pillar of severity, and this is might, discipline and karma. And so we have the sword arm again, and some very energetic, fiery energy going on there. And then we have the Tower. So this is the path, because each path, these are the paths that go along and down here, are each assigned to a major card. And the Tower is the 27th path, and this is courage, faith and fighting spirit. So again, we've got dragon energy, a lot of fire energy. And for death card, we have the ferryman. So yeah, there's a consequence of these energies. So let's have a look at it now astrologically, because I think it all absolutely fits in. So in this system that we're looking at with the Decans, we're actually only dealing with the 7 planets. We're not dealing with the outer planets, and so Saturn was the furthest most planet that was assigned. However, we can actually look at Mars with Pluto, which is the modern association. And the reason I'm looking at it that way is because Pluto rules the underworld. And this is where we're going in this card, down to the underworld. This is grief, rebirth and transformation for the death card. So I'm going to use, for the astrology side of it, the Celestial Bodies Oracle here. It's astrology and numerology, so it's really useful. I have shown this before. This is Devony Amber Wolf. You might know from the Serpent Fire Tarot. Anyway, so what do we know about the astrology? Well, Scorpio is the 8th house, so Scorpio is death, so that's the 8th house, so we'll look at that. The Tower is Mars, so there we go, we've got all that Mars energy, and you can really see it as well in the Thoth card, can't you? Look at that red. Yep, very Mars. You can see in the background of the actual Thoth 5 of Cups that's called Disappointment. And actually, if we look at that ratio, again, we can see it here. Look, 2/3 of the card is the Mars energy and 1/3 is the water energy. And therefore, the Mars has dried up the water. Yeah. The Golden Dawn, name that card, Lord of Loss of Pleasure. So, along with Mars, we can talk about Pluto. So, I've took the Pluto card out here. So we have water for our cups, we have fire for all that Mars energy, and Scorpio, which again I think you see it's a lot of red there, and it's a fixed one as well, fixed sign. So what does fixed sign actually mean? I'll read a little bit from the guidebook and you can see how this aligns. So Scorpio, along with a couple of other signs, Taurus and Leo namely, and Aquarius, are the fixed signs of the zodiac. And what that means, it comes to us at mid-season. Yeah, it says here, fixed signs come in the middle of each season and represent the power of cultivating resources and rooting down into the foundation of things. Blessed with the bounty collected by the cardinal signs that came before them, the fixed signs are able to comb through their accumulated resources and find stability. So that's what a fixed sign means. Okay, so that's that card there. Artwork's beautiful, isn't it, in this deck? So, what should we look at next? Should we look at the planets? I'll take the fire and water away for a moment. So we get awfully confused down here with all these cards. But yeah, let's just look at the Pluto and Mars aspects of this Decan. So if you've watched any of my other Decan videos, you'll see that I have spoken about Mars before. So Mars is aligned with Tuesday in the days of the week, and the associated minor cards that I've already actually looked at are the 2 of Wands, the 7 of Wands, the 10 of Cups, the 9 of Swords, and the 3 of Pentacles. So it's been associated with all those cards. So it's quite interesting if you want to see how that aligns for you as well. It's named after the Roman god of war, conquest, sexual force and domination. Action, determination, competitiveness and physical power radiate from this planet. Brave and headstrong, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. Mars reflects to us our styles of combat and how we contend with conflict. Our tempers, chosen weaponry and sense of powerful embodiment derive from our natal Mars. When it's in retrograde, Martian matters are brought to a standstill. So, yeah, very interesting. And then with Pluto, this is named for the Roman god of the underworld. So I thought that really tied in with this card from the Tree of Life Oracle. This planet connotes revolution, chaos, destruction, rebellion. Pluto rules Scorpio, the sign of chthonic depth, associated with cycles of death and rebirth. Pluto concerns himself with dismantling anything and everything that will not stand the test of time. So just look at the 5 of Cups and you can see where I'm going with this, I think. This is in service of moving things towards their highest, most honourable orientation. So we also see that in the Tower as well, I think, which is Mars energy and, you know, death. All of those actually really align to this Pluto energy. The higher octave of Mars, Pluto, is an agent of change. So it's the higher octave of Mars and it forces change, and all of those cards denote change, don't they? Pluto knows that after death there is rebirth and thus pushes us to destroy, evacuate and tear asunder, all for the sakes of cycles of life. After the storm we rebuild. We are not bereft of tools and resources, but rather equipped with wisdom from a previous trial. There are gifts in our dark shadows, there is fertility in the underworld. So there's hope. And I think we can actually see that hope in the Thoth card, because if you look at the bottom, these vine roots here from the lotuses are shaped in the form of a butterfly. So yeah, transformation right there. So that's Mars and Pluto. I haven't read all of the guidebook because why spoil it? But we'll have a little look now at, we've looked at the 8th house. Let's have a little look at Scorpio itself and the way that plays into these cards. The 8th sign of the zodiac, Scorpio, is the scorpion of transformation. So we're back here with this transformation aspect. So the traditional ruler of the sign was Mars, god of war, and there is certainly a theme of conquest, bravery and domination present in this sign. But after the discovery of Pluto, Scorpio gained a secondary ruler, and this deserves our attention. Pluto is named after the god of the underworld, the lord of shadow, dream, psychology and power struggle. Scorpio embodies so many of these qualities in its unique disposition that it is endlessly deep, focused and brutally honest, speaking truth to power regardless of the feathers ruffled in the process. Scorpio thrives in the night, the underworld, or fertile darkness of unconscious experience. Themes of transformation, grappling with the dark side of human nature, and consistently reinventing the self characterise Scorpio. So this is the interesting thing about the Scorpion. So the sign has 3 symbols: the high-minded and intellectual eagle, the shadowy, lustful scorpion, and the phoenix, bird of reincarnation. So I've talked quite a bit now about the astrology and the Tree of Life, so I think we'll move on a little bit to the cards themselves. So if we think about the time of year, and as I said, October 23rd, November 2nd, what is happening here? Well, we have Halloween, where we honour our ancestors in Samhain. So yeah, Halloween, Samhain, but we also have the Mexican Day of the Dead as well. So it's a perfect combination, really, even though it looks scary. It's a perfect combination of cards for this time of year, isn't it? So here's the Fabio Listriani Santa Muerte Oracle, which I actually used in my last Samhain spread. Quite a confronting oracle, really, this one, but yeah, it is the Day of the Dead. Isn't that beautiful? And all these actually line up if you put them all as together into an Ouija board. How cool is that? But yeah, these are just a few images just to get us in the mood for the Day of the Dead. So it's very shiny, beautiful, vibrant. So when you actually think of death, you know, you sort of think dark and grisly and everything, but not always so. It's celebrated so that we can honour our ancestors, remember our ancestors. Although I don't have any ancestry, Mexican ancestry, so this is not a forte for me, but I can still appreciate it, I think, even though, you know, it's not my own heritage. So it's a beautiful deck. This is a little aside. I do get carried away with my decks, I know, but I love my decks. Anyway, let's just get us in the mood for Santa Muerte and the Day of the Dead. But just by the by, I have got walkthrough actually of two different Santa Muerte tarot decks if you're interested in that. I'll just put the links below for them, but I'm not going to go through that here. This video is going to be really long because there's a lot to say about this card. So let's talk a little bit about the Death card here. And so, as I said, it's aligned to Scorpio and the 8th house and Mars and the river Styx, which is actually in the background of the card. Difficult to see on this one. So let's get the big one out, shall we? So you can see it a bit better on this one. This is huge, the giant Rider-Waite, and it is giant. But yeah, let's just have a look at it in this one. So obviously I'm using the small one so I can actually fit everything on screen so we can see them in context. But let's just have a look at them in a little bit more detail. So our Death card here. We've got the white rose, we've got the skeleton in armour. We've got people begging, please don't take me. We've got a woman looking away, a child offering a gift, and a king with his crown askew. We have here the river Styx. That's what this is. So here the ferryman is taking us underground, and so that relates back here to the 24th path in the Tree of Life tarot. Here we actually have the ferryman taking us down the river Styx. So death is all about conclusions and shedding outdated beliefs or relationships or even memories. And our figure here in the 5 of Cups is shrouded in black, and we do wear black, don't we, at funerals? But here they're completely enveloped in this black cloak here. There's a saying, isn't there? Emotions halt motion. So we can't move forward when we're absolutely encapsulated. We're absolutely overpowered here by our emotions. You know, dark emotions are depicted with this cloak, I think. We've also got here some red liquid and some green liquid coming from the spilled cups. You know, they say don't cry over spilled milk, but obviously this is what this individual is doing. So green, why green? Well, green is sort of synonymous with growth really, but it also could relate maybe to the heart chakra. So we're grieving from the heart here, and our passion has poured out. Our passion is no longer available to us because it's actually left the cups there, hasn't it? Even though we've got two behind, actually they don't look as if there's anything in there. So death helps us to shed things that prevent us from moving forward. You know, the heaviness here, the disappointment, the heartache. Well, that would mean if we don't shed them, then we may miss opportunities. And we've got to get, you know, down to the bone really. I mean, we have a skeleton here, so we're getting right down to the bone of the situation in the death card. So that's my take on that. Let's have a look at the Tower card. Again, we have Mars and war, and this is a forced change. And maybe this change was forced on this individual. You know, it didn't see it coming, and it's just utterly devastated them. It could be either sex. It's not quite obvious. But sometimes I think that's a little bun on the back of the head. I think this is a female figure, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, devastating, drastic, sudden change is what's depicted in the Tower. Strike of lightning, we don't see it coming, and yeah, it upsets us. It turns our world upside down, and here we are actually falling into a sea of emotion. In some cards you can actually see the sea below the rocks of this tower. So we're falling into the sea, which again is, as I said, water is emotions, and so we're diving headlong into tempestuous sea, probably, because if it's, you know, lightning and storm, then the sea churns up as well, doesn't it? So that churns up our emotions and brings us to a place here of stasis. We can't move, stuck here. And we need to rebuild. We need to face our fears, you know, from this change. We need to be adaptable, be able to actually make decisions. And it seems like this figure here is unable to make a decision, so the decision was made for them. And sometimes that's what happens, isn't it? You know, it's taken out of our hands. So if you actually look at the card itself, so the 3 cups there overturned are our losses, our disappointments, maybe our failures, but we can the figure here is actually acknowledging their own grief. So what do I see in this card? Well, I've really been studying it for the past couple of weeks, and it's brought up a lot of things actually. The house or castle, or stability, the structure, the bridge and the water, and the barren landscape and the grey sky. Reminded me of quite a few things. So yeah, death, obviously, because it's aligned here with these 2 major cards. And actually 11 years ago was the time that my mum was dying. It took around 10 days for her to pass. It wasn't an easy transition until the end. And so that happened well, she died on the 10th of November 2012, 10/11/12. And so, yeah, this obviously reminds me of the grief I felt and my mother passing along the River Styx to the next part of her journey. And it felt like my stability, because obviously my parents were my stability and my dad had died a couple of years before. My stability now was on shaky ground. It turns out that now I am the eldest member of the family, and that was a shock. And it's almost like, you know, I couldn't cross this bridge back to that stability. It was no longer available to me. And that was my challenge, really, was to be able to walk away from the grief, turn around, see what life had to offer, and not just cross the bridge over my emotions back to some sort of stability, but I had to actually make my own stability. And that's difficult when you suddenly don't have parents. I think it's the time when we actually grow up, you know, until then, we can always run to our parents when we're in trouble. And I did, many a time, and they always welcomed me. And now they were no longer available. It also reminded me of my divorces, my separations and divorces. There's been 2. And again, not being able to get back to what we had. The emotions were too much that we couldn't salvage the relationships either time. For reasons I won't go into, obviously. And it's a long time ago, so, you know, it's no trigger for me, but hopefully not for you. And it also reminded me of eviction, being evicted from your home. And, you know, these are all your worldly possessions, and you think you've lost everything, but actually you haven't, because there are the 2 cups here. So it's sort of the way that I was looking at these cards. Also the fact that we've just been in the middle of a storm, and so the rivers have been rising, and with the flood water, it's been, a lot of places have been impassable. In fact, my first husband lives in Scotland, and he told me how bad it is there. There's actually, people have actually died during the storm, and the bridges that connect where he lives are all down as well and damaged, so they can't even get out of the village. So yeah, there's the elemental side to it as well. Too much power from the storm, the Mars energy, has caused a lot of problems. Per and Porth, I think, are still without power. So yeah, that's the elemental side of it. Now in, you know, full force, which is really weird, isn't it? The way these things sort of align. So I'm just going to look at my notes. So bridge, have we come a bridge too far? So in whatever relationship we're talking about, maybe we've crossed one bridge too many and there is no way of returning. Or can we mend our bridges? Can we actually salvage whatever it is we feel we've lost? It's also interesting that the bridge is on the right hand side of the figure, if we look at the figure sort of this way. So does that mean it's the right way to go now? To turn away and go towards the right, so the right way. And this water is flowing, it's not stagnant, so there is an opportunity from transitioning from one state of being to another, if we want to take that. You know, take those 2 cups of opportunity, you know, to repair or to restart our journey. Because if you think of 3 as creativity, then our chance to grow has been overturned. So here we've got, like I say, this figure is obsessing over what went wrong. Again, crying over spilt milk. Whatever happened was devastating, we can see by the tower. Totally devastating. And our passion is about to be evaporated if we don't actually find another way. I did hear, what was it on the podcast, that the upside to death is inheritance. So what you inherit from the death. Now, if we're talking monetary, I didn't inherit anything. None of us did, because it all went towards a care home and mum's care, which is fine. But the inheritance they did leave me with was their morals. My parents' morals were really high, and they left me with a good foundation, I would say. A really good foundation on how to live authentically, which I've tried to follow, and my parents were my heroes, you know. They taught me a lot. Let's get on to the Thoth card now. So, these glass cups here are fragile. We're in a fragile part of our existence, and the tipping point is, you know, it doesn't look very stable here with this reversed pentagram here. It looks like the whole thing could just topple over. The reverse pentagram actually means matter has overtaken spirit. So our spirit now, as we can see in that card, you know, our spirits are really low, aren't they? You know, this is when we question if there's a higher force, you know, what's driving this situation. We question existence, don't we? And we're on pretty shaky ground when we start doing that, when we start thinking more materialistically, you know, about this world that we're actually living in, and we're ignoring our spirit. if we can connect to that spirit, then maybe this butterfly here symbol can help us to transform, you know, because the Tarot is all about transformation. The Death is all about endings. So here we need to find a way to go ahead, don't we? We can see that the 2 lotus leaves here are withered, really. They're black. They don't look healthy at all, do they? So that could indicate faded love, disappointment, everything looking gloomy. The empty chalices can actually mean infertility, because if we think of a chalice as the womb, then that can actually indicate infertility, apparently. And also with this dried up ground as well. There's something to go into, isn't there? We've got the Tower energy and the Mars energy above, overriding everything. That's anger, it's danger. So we have water, which is emotional. We have the number 5, which is a crisis. So here we have an emotional crisis. So, lessons learned, hey? It's time to face our failed hopes and dreams and start again. Those empty cups, those unfulfilled expectations, the breakable glass, it's fragile emotions, and they're easily shattered. And we are easily shattered, aren't we? You know, life feels empty, unfulfilling, unsatisfying. Really down in the dumps here. I was reading Banzhaf's book. I'll just fetch it. This book, Akron, I don't know how to say it, Banzhaf, the Crowley Tarot. I was reading this one about this card, and it talks about, which is really interesting. We've got the 5 of Cups, there's quite a bit of text on it. So we've got Tree of Life, Giver, upheaval through water, the fermenting putrefaction, which we can actually see at the bottom of the card there, fermenting putrefaction. But as an analogy, Pluto steals Persephone and Demeter makes the earth unfruitful. So again, we're talking about this time of year, aren't we? When the storms are taking the last of the leaves off the trees and everything's blowing away and winter's coming. Game of Thrones. Yeah, but winter is coming. We know winter's coming and the earth is changing, and that's the myth of Persephone, Demeter and Hades, and have Pluto. So we've gone back to Pluto. Let's find Pluto. Here we go. Pluto, as a mythological figure, has delivered Persephone, which is the maiden, to the underworld to be Hades' bride. Demeter is Persephone's mother, and so as she goes in search of her daughter, she forgets to fertilise the earth, because that is her function as a goddess. She brings fruitfulness to the earth, and spring comes when Persephone comes back up from the underworld for 6 months of the year. So I thought that was interesting. It's a great myth, that one. And I have done a walkthrough and a discussion on the Red Seas Tarot by Linda Hill, which is all about that myth. So it's worth, I'll link it below, but that's worth looking at as an analogy to the card. And it also brings us back to the underworld as well, doesn't it? You know, the 24th path and death. So ferrying down to the underworld there. Great how all these things link in, and you don't realise till you actually start researching all this. So what I usually do is show a few different decks just to see how they've been interpreted these 5 of Cups. So that's what I will do next. I recently did a tarot swap on Facebook to get this deck here, which is Twilight of the Gods. God, I've been after this for so long because I had the book, the accompanying guidebook, which I bought quite cheaply, and I wanted the deck because I've seen walkthroughs of it, and it's like I want that deck. But I thought it was really interesting, the 5 of Cups in this deck. Let's just get it out. Oh, It's a massive box. So this is J.S. Moore and M.S. Edwards. Okay, so this is the card. And so we're going back into myth here. I might do a walkthrough of this deck actually because it's fascinating. Anyway, this is about a Slavic legend, and it's Veronica. This is Veronica here. She was a minor nobility, and she was in love with Frederick, the only son of the powerful Count Hermann II of a name I can't pronounce. Anyway, the Count was greatly opposed to the marriage, and so he had his son arrested, and while holding him prisoner, initiated a trial against poor Veronica here, accused her of witchcraft, which is quite apt for this time of year as well. The season of the witch, isn't it? Anyway, she was acquitted by the court, but nevertheless he still imprisoned her in a castle, and mysteriously she drowned. Now, how do you drown in a castle? Well, supposedly she was murdered on the orders of Hermann II, and Frederick would mourn for the next 30 years. So 30 years of being in this state, and that's not actually unheard of really, is it? The Five of Cups depicts the tragedy of Veronica and Frederick. Frederick watches beloved float past. So that also brings me back again to this card from the Tree of Life. Below him are 3 cups. There's the 3 cups. Overturned and perhaps symbolic of the couple's shared grief and loss. The 2 cups still standing could provide Veronica with peace and Frederick with redemption, if only either one could or would notice. Now, the interesting thing about that is, you might remember I did a walkthrough of this Decan Magicians, Martyrs and Madmen. This is Travis McHenry. And when we look at the 5 of Cups in this deck, I don't know if this light's getting too dark actually. I might have to put some lights on, but we'll go for now. We've got a similar theme. In fact, I think I will put some lights on. Hold up. Okay, I've put some lights on now. Anyway, so Travis McHenry's 5 of Cups. Look what's happening here. Very similar theme, isn't it? Someone being thrown off a bridge here. Let's see what she did wrong. This is Agnes Bernquer, I think. From her humble beginnings as the daughter of a Bavarian barber surgeon, Agnes eventually married the future Duke of Bavaria before her tragic downfall as an accused witch. Exactly the same. Agnes met Albert III at a jousting tournament in Augsburg in February 1428. He was immediately taken by her beauty and charm, and she became his mistress, joining his household and receiving a small allowance. Due to the German laws of succession, an heir who married below his noble rank could not inherit his father's title. Albert's father arranged for Agnes to be arrested on charges of witchcraft, ostensibly for bewitching his son with a love spell. Bavarian soldiers threw her off a bridge and she drowned in the river Danube. It says Agnes began her relationship with Albert thinking she had hit the jackpot. Albert felt the same way about Agnes. Neither realised the tragic end their marriage would have. The bridge indicates a sudden fall from grace, although 2 cups remain upright, suggesting hope that part of the relationship and happy feelings may remain intact. So that sort of brought me on to, let's zoom back out again, the Deviant Moon Tarot. You know, I love this deck. It's so clever. And if we look at the 5 of Cups in this one, find it, 4, 5, then we see another argument and another wall. And that's why it reminded me of it. It was the wall actually, because a wall can be a barrier, can't it, between people's relationships. And I think that's what we can clearly see here, that over time a wall has started to form because we have the rose here, which the passion was there, but it looks like the passion is now, yeah, disappearing. It's spilt, we've lost it. We've lost that passion, that red energy there. And now it's just become disappointment with each other, really, which again could go on to my thoughts about divorce and separation. But, you know, if she stopped shouting and he'd start listening and take the finger out of his ear, I mean, I know he thinks his head's about to explode there with the way that, you know, his wife's going on at him, but there are a couple of cups here, so there is hope that this relationship could be salvaged, because, as I say, it once had passion, but now that passion has turned to anger. So we have that Mars anger energy there, and we've got that as, again, 2/3 of the card. And how high will this wall go before they realise or can step back into the security here of what they thought their marriage would be, you know, what that security would offer, and these emotions with the water in the background. So yeah, that reminded me of that card there, Deviant Moon. And that is Patrick Rowan's. This is the borderless edition. So what happens if we, you know, can't get past that? I was looking at the Witches Tarot. This is Ellen Cannon Reid. I've had this deck so many years. It's quite an amazing deck, actually, but it's dated. But I think it shows the consequence of that, of not being able to move on. Trying to find the card. So what's happened here? But you can see this figure here has constructed a dam. So this water is not only drying up, but it's actually being dammed. So those emotions have got nowhere to go, which is very sad, isn't it? I mean, there's hope here because this tree is in full leaf. So, you know, there is hope on the horizon there. If this person can undam their emotions, if they can like let their emotions start to flow again and show them the path out of this situation. So that's the Witches Tarot, Ellen Duggan Reid. So I think I mentioned before, I'm doing a bit of a deep dive into the Dreamkeepers Tarot, Liz Houston, and this is the Five of Cups from that deck. This is the Tower, and this is the Death card. So let's try and get it on frame. Here we can see we're shrouded. Here we can see we've actually been split apart, and this is how we're feeling about it. And so this person here is connected to the moon, and if you can actually see, there's a figure there in the moon. I'll be able to see it. So connected to their emotions, but their emotions are actually driving this. Is it anger? Because it's red Mars energy. Is this person really angry? And if so, who are they angry with? Because this person is looking at their own reflection in the water, and so maybe the anger has now turned inward, and so their emotions are closing down, totally closing down here, because they couldn't deal with the sudden shock of what's happened, and they're maybe blaming themselves. So I thought that was another way of looking at those cards. In the Everyday Enchantment Tarot, Poppy Pallion's beautiful deck, I love this deck, we've got someone at graveside. So we have the dog here, which is a symbol of loyalty, and the dog is actually trying to alert this person here to the fact that there's a future, even though they're obsessed with the loss of, well, a father figure. I'm thinking we've got an angel here with a raven or a crow on, so a messenger, but it's the ghost of the person that they've lost. I love the fact there's a Celtic cross in the background. But the ghost of the person in the past tells us that they're still there and they're still with us, even though we can't sometimes know that. You know, not everybody is able to access spirit. And so we come to grieve at the place where our loved ones are buried. It's such a sad card, that, isn't it? So, as it's Halloween, let's have a look at the Halloween tarot. This is the book and deck set, so I'll just get them out. I think it's quite interesting that the actual suit of cups in this deck is the suit of ghosts. Isn't that, yeah, apt? Anyway, so what's happening here then? So the bucket is losing water, the ghosts look upset about it, and the pumpkin man doesn't quite know what to do about it. And of course we've got the black cat. So I thought I'd just end on that as a tarot card, because I think it's quite amusing, and we need a little bit of lightness, don't we, in this energy. So that's the Halloween Tarot, Kipling West. You can actually get this in a tin version as well, quite easily. So let's finish this card study with the Crystal Magic Tarot. And that's this deck here, Kerry Ward and Claire Gregory. And for the Tower we have Black Tourmaline. For Death we have Jet. And for the Five of Cups itself we have Pink Tourmaline, holding on to our heart. So let's put him in the lid here. Here we have the Black Tourmaline. This is Jet. You can see both black. And then for the Five of Cups we've got Pink Tourmaline, and I've got a selection of it here. So let's see how this is going to help with this energy. Hopefully we can see that. So yeah, Black Tourmaline for the Tower, Pink Tourmaline for the Five of Cups, and some Jet for the Death card. So I'm going to put the Five of Cups in the middle and read from the guidebook for the Five of Cups and Pink Tourmaline. It says, Pink Tourmaline is a stone of self-love, compassion and healing. If you suffer from anxiety, often feel distressed, or if you tend to take things a little too seriously, Pink Tourmaline can help you lighten up and encourage a more playful attitude. This crystal is also an ally if your heart is broken and heavy from grief or loss, or you feel emotionally bruised from trauma or tragedy. All colours of tourmaline are healing and great for working through emotional issues, but pink tourmaline is particularly gentle and soothing, assuring you that you are safe and helping you to trust. And I suppose that's an issue as well, if we are talking about hurt from relationships that have catastrophically changed, then yeah, we need to learn to trust again and open up our heart again, so we're not so protecting ourselves so much, you know, shrouding ourselves so that nobody can get through, building that wall up so high that it's impossible for anyone to reach us. Anyway, that's my research and my take on the Five of Cups in association with Death and the Tower. And I haven't really spoken about the Thoth cards here. I mean, quickly just to say, if you look at the Death card, you can actually see the regeneration here in these little bubbles. It's quite phallic really, isn't it? But yeah, and look what's there. So yeah, there's a lot of symbolism. We've got the scorpion there as well as the eagle. So there's your Scorpio associations on the card, and also the regeneration here, as we can see, almost fetuses being born. So that butterfly, that regeneration. And here we've got the mouth with the fire of Mars coming through on the Tower card. But we've also got illumination with that eye as well. We see things clearly now. And once we see things clearly, well, Clearly there's no going back. This is a one-way journey. So until the next time, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little video. Until the next time, thank you so much for watching, friends. Bye now. Bye.